Okay, Bismillah Rahman Rahim. Dear students, today we'll learn about the things called namespaces. What namespaces basically are, they are actually the declaration area. I've created a namespace from here to here, in which I created two couple of variables, okay, and a class with all its, we know what it is. Now, I have created another a class student. I'm saying, and I'm created another class here, class student. Okay, and I want to access these A and B, which happen to be in the namespace Juni. uh, I have to use here the scope resolution operator Juni to tell it which namespace it is. Okay, colon colon. Similarly, student, I say Juni colon colon. Now question is, I'm not using with the OB1 because OB1 scope is already resolved here. So compiler already knows that OB1 belongs to the namespace Juni, so you don't need the qualifier here. Now if I give it a go, it will work fine, and you see it's working fine even though we have the same name class. But what if I close this namespace? Okay, and now I have to close all these because I'm having this. Now if I try to run it, it will show me an error because class student is ambiguous here. Because which student, this one or this one? Because this is redefinition of class student, you can't. But if this student is in this namespace, it has no problem, because this is not open. There is that's why in the first place we use namespaces, so that we can reuse the names, because we are large softwares where, for example, we are developing software for a college. There is student, there is teacher, there are a lot of variables which we use and reuse. But if we don't have namespaces, we have to every time choose a new variable name. That becomes really hectic for us, and that's why we have namespaces which localize the names in this area. That's why I said namespace is a declaration area. And whenever you need to use them, use scope resolution operator with the name, that which namespace actually that variable or that class or that whatever function or whatever it is belongs to. So if you have the same name function different, you can have a different namespace and put in there. Now we have another thing called using. If I say using colon colon A, so I don't need so anywhere I use A, but I should say using what? Juni colon colon A. That means A belongs to the namespace Juni. This is what using means. So it will work fine. Will it work fine or not? There is terminator here, and give it a go. No props. But if I try to remove with the B also this, but it will tell me, give it a go. Now B, he says B is undeclared because B is not known here unless I don't put up using Juni colon colon B. Is it? If I say like this, if I say using Juni colon colon B, means man, the B is also, what I'm doing is I'm putting up the putting up the A in the current namespace. I'm putting up the B in the current namespace so that they will be known here. So now you use A or B somewhere, you don't need to put up, because every time you use A you have to use Juni colon colon. But by saying using one times, you can use A 100 times, whatever times here, no problems. Okay. But if I try to do same thing with this guy, okay, I delete this and maybe I copy this and control V, paste it, and this time around I try to do it with the student, that I'm saying put the student class in the current namespace so that anywhere student is used, it's understood it's Juni. But this is a problem. Why? Because we have student also here. Now what will happen is the compiler will allow to have two names, student and student, even though you have using you have put up the Juni as a namespace here as a using keyword. That means you put up this in the global namespace, the student, and compiler internally knows that this student is outer student and this student belongs to the Juni. But for us, the using will work, okay, but the thing is that it will cause a problem, because when I create a student here, ob1, I could have done it if if the student was not here. But the problem is, if I create a student ob1, this is ambiguous, because compiler don't know whether you want to create ob1 from this class or from this class. So at that moment, even though you are saying using, you have to use Juni here colon colon to say that this student actually is of Juni. So it is not worth to write here like this. So it should not have a problem. Still having problem. Why is it having problem now? Yes, it will have a problem, because now by keeping the using the student, this will keep this student in the current global space. That means it will get this student and put it in the current namespace where the class student is already there. So it will have the ambiguity. So you cannot put up the things which are in which has the same name in the with the using keyword. So I have to close it out, and I have to tell explicitly what this student belongs to. Otherwise, it's simply it will be ambiguous. There will be ambiguity between the two students. Okay, so I have to tell it here like this, so it will work fine. Okay, or if I need if I don't want that the specific elements from the namespace will be put up in the global namespace by using, or I could have put whole I say using namespace Juni. What it does is it will put everything in the Juni in a global namespace. Now cut it off and execute it. There should not be a space. Okay, it's putting everything of Juni in the namespace, in the current namespace. Okay, everything, whatever is in a Juni, the current namespace, it can allow us that thing, and it will allow us even though we have the class student there. But when you are trying to use which student, you have to say at that time a scope resolution operator. Okay, you have to say which operator basically we are talking of. We are which namespace we are talking of, which student of which namespace we have to give it. Otherwise there will be ambiguity between this student and the namespace student. Okay, does it make sense? Another thing we have here is what's called as unnamed namespaces. But before discussing unnamed namespaces, let's discuss about few things about external and what's that called, static qualifiers. Okay, actually we have 4 types of what's called storage class specifier. One is external, one is static, one is registered, one is auto. I'm interested here in external, extern and static, which I will be needed to understand the concept of what is called as the unnamed namespaces. For example, here in the main, after the main, okay, after the main, I'm using 2 variables like int glob equals to 30. I'm declaring it as an initialize. This is declaration as a definition. Now this is a global variable here because this is outside the main, and but I'm using them before their definition here. I want to use them within the program. Okay, even though I have used it wire, I want to print them up. Say for example, I want to print them here. Printf. I should not say printf, but this is C++. I should say cout. I should say what, global variable equals this glob glob. Okay, and put up the handle at the end. But this time around it will have problems because this global is because when the program executes the main, it starts from line number 24. So at line number 30 it encounters globe, which is not yet declared. Okay, so it will show us definitely an error what this globe is. This is undeclared. So we have to tell compiler that this globe is declared defined somewhere else. Remember, a variable can have multiple declarations but one definition. So let me put up a declaration here. Before I use it, I will say this int globe, and before int globe I say it to be as external variable. Okay, I'm specify this is this external specifier. What does this external specifier does is it tells compiler that, hey compiler, this is not the definition. I'm not defining the variable. Rather, we are telling the compiler that this is defined somewhere else. This could be in the same file, this could be in another file. If we have multiple files also, we could have maybe in another file the globe defined, and I'm using it here. So this external doesn't define doesn't actually give the definition for the global, right? It doesn't give 4 bytes to this global variable. Okay, but rather it's only declaration. It's only telling us that we have somewhere the global this globe variable which is of type int. Now compiler knows we have the int somewhere else. This time around it's in the same file. This could be in the another file also. So compiler, when encounters this globe, it is ready to find it. So it will in advance, when you say here globe, before it at line number 26, compiler would have done a search for this globe wherever it is, maybe in the same file or in another file, and will seek this. Okay, so what actually does is, when it's before it goes to line number 27, at line number 26 it starts searching where this int globe is, and start defining that and initialize that. So when it comes to the line number 31, it's already done line number 34. It has done it. Okay, so when you execute it this time around, it's not a problem. Okay, for example, here I have created multiple files project. Now in the def.cpp, which we used it last time also, I am created here the global variable. Okay, and in 1.cpp I am doing what? I am basically doing a declaration of the global. So I told you there will be multiple declarations. Declaration only means what variable and what data type is, and external here means to compiler that this int global is somewhere else. Find it, maybe it's in another file, or maybe it's somewhere else in another procedure, or wherever it is. Just find it for us. Okay, and then I'm using this global variable, I'm printing it out. So it will print out the exact value which is in this file. Okay, so if I give it a go, first I think we should compile this one, then you can execute this, because we have to link. So we need a compilation of this, then compilation of this, and then linking of this to make an exe, and which runs here. Global variables 30 is not a problem here, so it's working fine. So does make sense? So by saying that this int global is somewhere else, okay, and this gives us an intuition where it by saying the external, basically it gives us where the file is. Okay, it is somewhere else. But if I use here like static, if I use here what, like static, it does what? Okay, for example, wait a second, I'm using here, I'm saying it is static. Okay, what I'm declaring it as static, and now save it. Okay, compile it separately. Now execute this one. Now you try to execute this. Now it complains about global, and they are saying int global, hey, search is somewhere else, it's not here. But you can't access this, because when you have a static, it does what? It makes this variable only available within this file. So you can't span this to the whole program, to the whole files. You can't span this. The scope of this variable is only this file. This is difference between static global variable, and if it's a local global variable, in some function, if you have some function, you put up the static there, the global variable, that variable is only available within that function only, okay, and even not outside. If you say, for example, we have here some function, okay, which has two blocks, and I'm putting up here some static variable. That static variable only available within this, but by putting up a static there, it will not be killed. So when you execute again this function, the older value will be there, it will retain the value. Okay, but if you put up a global variable here, static, it means to make it available only within this file only. Okay, so same thing we can do with a namespace, which is what, which is the unnamed namespace. If you put up something with the unnamed namespace, say I don't put up the name here, right, then this will become an unnamed name. Say for example, I got to my file here which is saying using namespace, I created namespace Juni, but I'm saying namespace only, no, nothing else other than that. Okay, now this namespace doesn't have a name. Okay, and I don't use this using namespace now because it doesn't have a name, and I don't need Juni anywhere now because Juni is nowhere now. I don't have the name Juni, and if I give it a go, um, there's some problem with this. Now let me remove these. Oh, this is what I should say here. Okay, let me close all these files before I proceed. Let me close this one also. What is this? Untiled. Oh, I should not delete this. Oh, I deleted that already. Damn it. No props. Let me create a new. I say code template. C template. Okay. C plus template second. Do I have in my paste option that thing? Because I deleted my file. That's very bad. Oh, I have nothing. But that will be saved like untitled something, right? Close this also. No, close this. Maybe I say file. Open. That will be in the computer. C program files, C free 4 samples. Not in sampled, where it keeps the files. In config, no, it keeps somewhere files, you know. 32 bin, yeah, not even here. I'm saying file name, everything, show me all files. Okay, include, yeah, is include having untitled something there? Not, no, this is include file. Whatever, I'm not finding that file. Let me see this here. This is namespace, and I'm using a namespace here, and without name, so it's unnamed namespace, and I want to access this D, which is in unnamed namespace, getting me the, actually wait a second, file, we close all, untitled 2. 1 second please, let me copy this untitled first. And close all. Create a new file, paste it, execute it. Still getting that project file, so I should go to project and say close. Okay, now execute this file. Okay, here we go, days 20, but let me see out this 20. Okay, not 70 but D. Now I'm putting up the D, and that the D is here. Now you may argue that what is the need of this namespace then? Is it because I'm accessing this D without the qualification, so why should I put up the namespace there in the first place? It's actually to uh, limit this D only to the current file. You can't access them outside. If you say this happens to be global here, so you say in the another file external in D, but it will not be accessed like we had the static. Okay, now for example I got here int global 30. Now look at it, I am putting up here external, and this is multiple files again. I'm putting here external, that is I'm telling you this is in a global, this variable is declared somewhere else, but if I don't use it, and this will have a problem. Okay, you will say what is this, you have to this global is undeclared, right? But if I say external, it will work fine because but save it first. Okay, it will work fine because this global variable is declared in another file called def.cpp. okay, that's in this def.cpp, it's already global here. But if I create like static, I said, if I say like that this is in an unnamed namespace, okay, and again you will see that this will be unaccessed. So first you can't access this because this, by putting up this thing in an unnamed namespace, means use this within this file only, like we use the static in front. Now if I compile it first, I need a compilation of this first, then I go to here and start executing. It will again have a problem with the global. It's saying it's undefined because global is nowhere. You are saying here the declaration trying to say, hey, this is somewhere else, but it's not somewhere else. Okay, so with this we end up our namespace. Okay, there are other namespace options like you can have the, for example, namespace somewhere else, and you can have two namespaces with the same name, but that will combine together for another. Say for example, I'm saying here if a namespace A, okay, and when I put few things and I say here again namespace A, it doesn't matter because it will be taken as a one namespace and combined together. Okay, you can nest namespaces within one another. Okay, you can say namespace A, then you say namespace B. You can say here name space B and just give it a go. And if somewhere something is here, you have to give two specification before you say before you want to access this. For example, here we got int JJ. If you want to access this JJ, you have to say somewhere else, okay, outside the namespace, you have to say A colon colon B colon colon JJ, right? And we have the names std also as a namespace. Okay, uh, if you say like using like this namespace std, what happens is standard C++ defines this entire library in its own namespace, actually called as std. This is the reason we are putting up this here. Okay, but you can put up the qualification to the std to the people, like std colon colon cout, std colon colon and l, and like that, right? Or you can put up in a global namespace so that whenever you have to use it, you can use it. But sometimes maximum times we don't use, in a large programs we don't use like that, because then maybe I need something which is repeating, so that will have a conflict problem. So I will use wherever I use, I will use the using with the particular names. Okay, like using std colon colon cout, using std colon colon cin, like that, or something. Or sometimes if you say, hey, come on, I need everything in a global namespace, keep them in a global, so that because I'm using a lot of variables from this std, so let me use it. And not necessarily you can put up in the first line, you can use other namespaces here, and then using namespace anywhere in the program. From that point onwards, whatever the name is that std will be put up in a global namespace. Okay, I think with that we wind up our topic of this namespaces. Okay, see you next time. Masalama.